भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च अन्यच्छ्रेयः अन्यदुतैव प्रेयः ते उभे नानार्थे पुरुषगुंसि नीतः तयोः श्रेयः आददानस्य साधुर्भवति हीयते अर्थात् य उप्रेयो वृणीते. This is the first verse we have been looking into and understanding its purport in one of the most important choices, in fact, the most important choice that a human being makes in the course of one's life. All the other choices are in the realm of the relative. And, should I have cake or should I have ice cream? Idea. I think I should have both. This is the kind of choices that one indulges in the everyday world, in the world of the relative, filled with relative choices that dog one. And then in the modern world, in Kali Yuga especially, there is increasing FOMO. FOMO is a short form, FOMO, which means fear of missing out. This is what happens when one is a preyas hog. A preyas hog gets into FOMO very quickly. The scarcity mentality predominates. This is the fallout of Shreyas. Because the last line we are looking at, Hiyate Arthat, the one who chooses Preyas, Lord Yama says, falls off from the Atma Anugraha, the self-grace of following the path for which one was born. So how does this derailment happen? FOMO. Another name for preyas addiction is FOMO, fear of missing out. So many objects, so little time, so many things to experience, so little time. So as I said earlier in the earlier class, one is busy making lists. Even at 82, the listing doesn't stop. At that time, one has a special list. You know what is its name? Bucket list. Yeah. Before one kicks the bucket, one makes the list. Not so in the Hindu tradition, because that's why we have another life. Okay, we have many lives to experience all these things. We don't, no Hindu in my opinion should make a bucket list because this is not the only life. There are many realms. Even if one is not born again, let us say, because this is a non-verifiable belief after all. So even if one is not born again, there are 7 types of what we call heavenly abodes, lokas, and 7 types of hellish experiences, other lokas. So 7 up, 7 down. We have many lokas where you can experience all the unfulfilled desires. Relax. Don't make a list, really. This is what the whole thing is. And now, for the person who is a preyas hog, one is in the grip of a scarcity mentality, best described by teenagers and young adults in the contemporary era as FOMO, fear of missing out. I don't have this, I don't have that, I have to get this. And what is behind the FOMO? It is fear, all right, but it is a fear which basically is centered not on the absence or the presence of the object, but on the very subject. It is a it is a subject centric fear, not an object centric fear. And what do we mean by a subject centric fear? Because the reason why there is a scarcity mentality, the reason why one becomes a preyas hog, is because there is a deep rooted wrong belief. I am not okay. I am not enough. And if I am not enough, I have to shore up the I with all kinds of titles, degrees, pedigrees, and so many things. I have to become secure because essentially I come to the conclusion that I am insecure. You see, this is a very funny thing. I am is self evident, as we saw. I am. Aham, 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 aham asmi. I am, I am, I am. Don't ask the next question, who is this I? Then the answer will come. Oh, how much time do you have? How much time do you have? Well, okay, I have a lot of time. Tell me. And then all the unfulfilled needs, wants, desires, pains, sorrows, regrets, resentments. This is the sum total of the definition of I. I had a very interesting experience once. I was on a bus going somewhere. It was a 3 hour journey into the into the mountains. So to help somebody to do a fire ritual. And I was on a, what is that called, Greyhound bus. And so the bus was going, and I had a seat mate, and the seatmate wanted to talk. You look like a spiritual person. Yes, guilty as charged, I said. And then, and then she fell into a conversation. She started to talk about herself, her difficulties, all the challenges, poor thing, in her life. And then and then soon it was the next stop was mine. It was in 15 minutes, and I wanted to not cut off the conversation so that she would feel bad. So I just told her, in 15 minutes, I will be getting off, because I already have the phone call. I got a phone call from the people who are going to pick me up at the bus stop. And so, and then she said, "Can I have their number?" I said, "Why? Why do you want their number?" "I want to tell them to meet you not at the next bus stop, but the bus stop after that, so that I can finish telling you my story." I said, "Be my guest. If they are available to do that, I don't mind. I can listen to you." So this is what, this is how the life is. Centered on this I are a whole host of unpalatable, unpalatable situations, which I have internalized. The I has internalized that. Wants, needs, lack, insecurity, and misapprehension of the I. This is the cause of becoming a preyas hog. And what is the cause of this misapprehension? Then we go back to the original cause. And I suppose this is what in Christianity is called the original sin. This is avidya. Avidya means self ignorance, not knowing the nature of this I. And we have a stock example in Vedanta. What is that? Our wonderful rope snake. The rope that is lying on the ground innocently with three bends, undulating, lying. And let's say the top of it is frayed, so it looks like this, and it's moving in the wind. The split tongue of the snake, the rope is mimicking. And then it is just lying there. And then, so this is scenario number one. And you have to build up the example nicely, otherwise, it doesn't yield dividends. So, how do you build up the example? The lighting has to be just right. Ambient lighting. Like you go to some kind of an exotic restaurant and it's all dim. You can barely see your food, and that's the idea. So they can charge you a lot by just giving you a basically empty plate. Okay. Yeah. So this is, so it's kind of a lighting which is very dim, as in twilight. You just happen to go into your yard in at twilight, and you see something with three bends and a split here moving in the wind. And what do you say? You don't say snake at first. That would be unrealistic. First you would say eek and then you would say snake. Okay? You say snake, eek, snake, and you run away. Now, when we unpack the example, it yields a lot of information and knowledge that is useful for a student of Shreyas. And what is how to unpack this? First of all, we have to complete the story. After running back in the house, then the person catches hold of their smartphone, which is used for everything, including making phone calls, and that will have one flashlight, and then you shine the flashlight on this quote unquote snake, revealing the rope. And then you get braver and braver, you approach it, especially the tongue part, and you look at it this way, that way. Ah, this is just a rope. This is not a snake, it is not. Then you feel good, and then what? then you know then you have the snake has gone, the snake has gone. My question to you is, where did the snake go? Did it slither away in the bushes when you were not looking? Was the snake on top of the rope? Was the snake underneath the rope? Was the snake on the side of the rope? Where was the snake? The answer is, the snake was here. It was a projection born of a deep rooted fear. In Sanskrit, it is called nivritti. That which makes me run away is nivritti, and snake is one of the things that makes most people run away. That's why this is a timeless example. Nivritti. Run away from this. And so this is what makes me run away. And so where is the snake? The snake is a projection on the rope. And in the light of that phone, in the light projected by the phone, this personal projection of the snake was withdrawn. It went back from where it came. In other words, the snake is a subjective projection of one's own fear, projected onto something that is seen but partially seen, that is known as an object but not revealed in its totality as the kind of object that it is. This is something very beautiful. So this is what is called drishtanta example. Now what is the darshtanta? In other words, to put it in English, what does this example exemplify? The rope here is the eye. The twilight is the partial knowledge of the eye that is self-shining. All right, it is available. It is understood as I am, I am. But it is not understood as what it is. Just like the rope, it is not understood as what it is, and therefore there is a misunderstanding of the I being an object of fear. And so the I becomes a sitting duck for the projection of my despair, my dejection, my despondency, my fear, my terror, my wants, my needs, my desires, my insecurities. The poor I is like a donkey. It bears this huge burden of all the misnomers and the misapprehensions, the misidentification and the misunderstanding. Poor Atma doesn't even complain. If Atma had a human mind, it would be very miffed by now. It would say, nobody loves me, nobody understands me, everybody is going after prayers, and I'm the one they really want. They don't even know me. I'm unloved, I'm unwanted. It doesn't say that. Why? Because the I, the self, the Atman is big enough even to accommodate your ignorance, even to accommodate these misunderstandings and misidentifications. That's why generations of people are born and generations of people die away without knowing the I. Nothing happens. Why? Because the Atma is big enough to accommodate your ignorance, your misunderstanding. The Atma is not perturbed by misunderstandings. You are perturbed. But then who am I here? The Ahankara, the ego, or the I notion that has identified with everything finite. This is what needs to be taught. In a beautiful exchange in a bhashya for one of the Upanishads, Adi Shankara, asked the question, is asked the question by somebody. He narrates this incident. So somebody comes and says, "Where is the ignorance? Where is the ignorance located?" You cannot say the ignorance is located in the body. If you cut up the ignorance body and do a post-mortem, there is not something called ignorance that you have to come bring it out like a tumor, excise the ignorance. Not possible. Then you cannot even say the ignorance is in the mind. Mind also is shining like the moon in the borrowed light of consciousness, in the light of Atma. So, where is the ignorance located? And Adi Shankara responds, the ignorance is located in the very place where it is owned up. And this owning up of the finitude, the owning up of the ignorance, the one who does that is called Ahankara. The Ahankara is what needs the teaching. This is the Ahankara that needs the teaching. It's not the body that needs the teaching. And it's not the mind that needs the teaching. It is the I notion that has taken, that has gathered all kinds of misidentification that needs to be taught. That you are the whole. You are not what you think you are. And because of this ignorance, one has become a preyas addict. And if we were to do what people do a lot these days, which is, people are into genetics because you want a sense of some history. Everybody is going on some website, I was told, what is it called? Ancestry.com. And then you put your last name, and your last name happens to be Smith, which is everybody's last name, every other person's last name. And then you are given some history. After, of course, paying some money, you are given some, something and told that this is what happened and here you are and this is who your great grandmother was and all these things. And then one feels a sense of connection, I suppose, and that is very important, to feel this sense of connection. So in the same vein, if we were to draw up the ancestry of avidya, avidya being feminine here, the word avidya, so we can say she is the matriarch. She is the matriarch of this lineage. And then she has a child. Because of avidya, what happens? She has a child, kama, all kinds of unwanted desires. This is the direct descendant of avidya. Because I don't know who I am, I have wrong notions. So avidya gets married to wrong notions about the self, and they produce a child called kama. Kama means all kinds of unmanageable, recalcitrant, binding desires. And then Kama also has a child when he grows up, because the word Kama is masculine. What might that child be named? Karma. Because karma means action here, okay? And, karma is action. And so the, the karma, the desires don't allow you to sit quietly. They exert a pressure to do something to fulfill that desire. There is an urgency, there is a scarcity, there is a drive. That drive in Sanskrit is called vega. There is a drive, and that drive makes you engage in all kinds of action to fulfill those desires that have arisen in the heart, in the mind. So the child of kama, the grandchild of Mataji Avidya is what? Karma. Kama gives birth to action. And what does action produce? This is very easy. What does action produce? Result of action. So karma has twins, papa and punya. Meritorious results, as you know, which are gained as a result of following dharma, and uncomfortable results as a result of flouting dharma. Papa punya. Karma has twins, papa punya, in other words karma phala. And then what happens? What happens to this their children? They have one child, punar janma, rebirth. You see how this is the history, the ancestry of self ignorance. So, self ignorance, because of self ignorance, what partners the self ignorance is wrong notions about the I, and wrong notions about the I, give what is that? Produce desires that demand immediate fulfillment and exert a pressure which is called karma, action. Action gives birth to result of action in the form of papa, meritorious, comfortable situations as a result of good deeds, and bad karma as a result of bad deeds. Bad deeds means against dharma. And then that, one life is not enough to exhaust all the karma, so then that leads to another life, and another, and another. We can keep on going, we can keep on saying and another, and another. you know Very interesting. There is one book, what is that called? Tibetan Book of Death and Dying. It's a very famous book. Some of you might be familiar with it. And there he says that the disembodied jivas, the beings that have departed from this earth, love marriage celebrations. They crash every wedding party and follow the newlyweds closely because they want to become their baby. They want to be born as their child. Why? Because there is, being disembodied is no fun. You are just hanging out. You can't even do Shravanam of Vedanta. You can't even listen to Vedanta. Because how will you listen? What will you do? You can't even sit in one place. You'll be floating around somewhere. You can't do yogasana, nothing, because you don't have limbs. you don't, you know what to say Ashtanga yoga? You don't even have one anga. What to talk of 8 limbs? You don't even have one limb to exercise. Being disembodied is no fun. And so, therefore, there is a pressure to take on the body. And the Tibetan Book of Death and Dying says that all the disembodied people, you can't call them people, but whatever it is, jivas, hang around marriage halls and wedding parties. They get crash and they follow the newlyweds to their home. Mommy, daddy, can I please be born to you? This is what they are saying. And so punarjanma means this is a belief, okay? And so one is born again because of that bucket list. The list was flown with the help of the sukshma sharira, the subtle body. The list made it to the subtle body, and then what happened? And then the list was somehow remembered in the subtle body, the subtle mind, and everything. And then the list was, put in front of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan says, Tathastu, okay, fine. And what was on the list of this man who died earlier? The list was, I could not go. I'm so sad. I could not go bungee cord jumping. So sad. Bhagavan is very resourceful. Bhagavan has a solution for everything. Bhagavan sat and contemplated for a second and said, okay, spider, next janma, next birth, spider. You whole life bungee cord jumping. You don't even have to pay for the cord. You generate the cord, you know. Don't take it seriously. This is just for fun, okay? Yeah. So this is the costs of following a life of prayers. It is a life of prayers is a life mired in projections, in personal projections, subjective projections of one's own pains, unresolved, uninterrogated, unhealed pains, sorrows, desires, fears. So the whole life is approach, avoid, approach, avoid. That's why I said if anybody says, I want pray, pray yes. We just have to, they just have to then say, please pray for us. Pray yes means pray for us because no other possibility remains. It is a life of a subjective projection based on one's own fears, terrors, and this is not a life that is well lived because one is always in the shadow of despondency, despair, and dread. It's a 3D life: despondency, despair, and dread. And therefore, Lord Yama teaching Nachiketa, even before he goes into what this knowledge of limitlessness is, and this knowledge of limitlessness is in fact a life of objectivity, a life of devotion, a life of Ishwarizing everything, a life of oneness with everything, a life of no conflict, a life of peace, a life of glory. Even before he goes into describing this life, he says, the choice is you have to choose what you want because the default choice is fraught with very dire consequences, not only for this life, but the next and the next and the next. And if anyone knows about other lives, Lord Yama does, because I said he's a clearing house of all jivas. So he knows. He knows who's been there and done that and who is going to do that all over again, having missed the boat, missed the bus, missed the plane in the last life. And so, therefore, right here, one is equipped with a human body. Right here, one has a human mind. Right here, one has the buddhi, the intellect to discriminate, to sift preyas from Shreyas, like even the mythical bird, a swan like bird, Hamsa. Hamsa is a mythical bird. And then what would it do? If you it would only live on milk, and then if you said, okay, we are a little bit out of milk, and then you mix some water in the milk and give it, it would have the power, the ability to siphon off the milk and leave the water in the bowl. This is why the Hamsa is very dear to all sadhus, to Vedantins, and to spiritual people everywhere. Because when we consider the Hamsa, the mythical animal, we want to have that discriminative ability to be able to sift between preyas and Shreyas, to take in to siphon off the Shreyas and to throw out the preyas. This is what we pray for. That's why the mythical animal Hamsa is very dear to spiritual people and to people who are on a spiritual quest. And another reason it is dear is because of a word play. Ham is short for Aham, I. Saha, the Lord. Ham Saha, I am the Lord. So it is a kind of a Mahavakya, a proclamation of oneness with the Lord. That is why this word Hamsa and even this mythical being which is able to siphon off the truth and leave the false that which is false behind is very, very important here. And so the ability to sift, the sifting ability is very, very, very important. The ability to tell the difference between Shreyas and Preyas is marred by two things. First is one's own lack of discrimination, in Sanskrit called viveka. One needs to go to a viveka gym, and the viveka muscle must be strengthened. Or do some yogasanas, to strengthen the viveka. One has to strengthen the viveka, because otherwise the viveka is very weak. Why? Why is the Viveka, the discriminating power, weak? Because it too has been hijacked by the Raga and the Dvesha, by these urgent and binding and pressure filled desires. It too is hijacked by that. So it doesn't, the shifting ability is weak. It is imprisoned by the raga and the dveshas. It is held hostage. That is why it is weak. So the shifting ability is first, set free. Why and how? It is set free because that's the only way to be able to distinguish between Śreyas and Preyas. So the first reason why we cannot, before we discuss how to develop Viveka, we will do this first. So the first reason why it is hard to distinguish between Śreyas and Preyas is because the Viveka is compromised for reasons that we have discussed. The second reason why it is difficult to distinguish between Shreyas and Preyas is because they look alike. Most of the time they look alike. Why? How do they look alike? Because whatever you see is Preyas. And where is Shreyas? Shreyas is the content, the truth of the one who is seeing. The truth of the seer is Shreyas. So the Shreyas is not an object that can be distinguished. And the third reason it is very difficult is because even though we are calling something Preyas and something Shreyas, that which is called Preyas, meaning the dead and time bound pursuits, the worldly pursuits of the finite, are still leaning on the infinite for their very existence. To put it slightly differently, behind every object or every pursuit of prayers shines Shreyas. It is right there. It is right there. And it's like that, it's like the same child coming to the same house on Halloween day in different costumes. Same child. I had this experience once, you know, and so the child came and had some kind of a very nice crescent moon costume, and I, praised the child, praised the costume, and then gave it some candy. It went away, and then another costume, same height, but I didn't pay attention because children are, then some more candy, trick or treat. I don't want to be tricked, so okay, take the treat. Third time the child comes, and then I was again giving the candy, and somebody from the back said, "Please don't give her any more candy." The father came. I thought she's come right first time. No. Then I found out it was the same child in the goblin costume right now, in the half moon costume before, and in some other costume, I forget, some princess or something in between. Same child. So the costume is Preyas. Behind the costume is Shreyas. You take a little time to look behind that. What is upholding the costume? We are the lovers of costume. Pageantry. We go for everything that shines and glitters. We want the drama. Remove the D. Behind the drama is only Rama. That is what has to be understood. That is what has to be grasped. That is what has to be seen. This is why Preyas and Shreyas are hopelessly mixed up. because one cannot understand that there is only one thing that is shining in many forms, in many names, and that one thing is really ultimately you, as that uh, you know indelible, unalienable, inalienable consciousness that cannot be made to disappear, that can never be denied. You mean I can't deny myself? No, try. I am not. If you say I don't exist, you will look very funny if you say that. Because even in saying, in proclaiming your supposed non existence, you are shouting out your existence. It is very funny. It's like a child who hides behind the couch and says, I'm not behind the couch, don't look there. That's the first place you look. असन्नेव स भवति असद्ब्रह्मेति वेद चेत्. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Asat eva sabhavati, the one who denies that there is Shreyas. Here, Shreyas means not the pursuit, the subject matter of the pursuit, which is Bhagavan, which is the same. The pursuit and the pursuer are one and the same. And so the subject matter of the pursuit and the pursuer are one and the same. So Shreyas, the one who denies Brahman, the one who denies Bhagavan, is engaging in nothing but a rank form of self denial. You are that Brahman you are wishing to deny. Deny all you want. It's not going to make any difference. My teacher used to say, let's not even give the directive to people to contemplate upon Brahman. Let's tell them, please try to get away from Brahman for 2 minutes. See what happens. Okay, I will run to the farthest corners of the earth. That is also Brahman. I'll go to sleep. Sleep is Brahman. I'll go to the movies to forget about Brahman. Movie is Brahman. The bus in which you went to the movies is Brahman. The ticket is Brahman. The seat is Brahman. And the melodrama on the screen is also Brahman. And the watcher is Brahman. The popcorn is Brahman. The butter which you shouldn't have got but you did anyway, that is also Brahman. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? In fact, this becomes a very beautiful contemplation. Let me try for 2 minutes trying to get away from Bhagavan and see what happens. So Shreyas is that, my dear friends. It's something that you cannot get away from, but you still have to make the make the appearance of choosing, even though you are in this, as long as you are in this body, you have to exercise that choice. Without that, one gets derailed from the purpose of life itself. How to exercise that choice, how to discriminate, is given in the next verse, which we will see in the next class. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.